Can you believe it's Thursday again? How does this happen? I mean, I know it happens every week, but how does it happen so fast? It's Thursday. It is 6 p.m. I'm Russ Kane. This is the ABC of CBD, exclusive to Men's Radio Station. Delighted to be part of it. This is episode, hold on to your hats, 96. It's all down to this guy. He is the Count. One day that's going to go so wrong. The Count of cannabinoids, the hunk of hemp, the Maharaja of marijuana. Ladies and gentlemen, Ollie Mammon.
What's up, guys? Happy Thursday. Happy 6 o'clock time.
Happy Thursday.
Nearly weekend, everybody.
Big weekend for me.
Only 12 hours left to go.
Big weekend. Big weekend for me.
How are you, Ross?
My birthday, Saturday.
Shut up.
Okay.
Shut up. It's your birthday. How old are you going to be? Have you frozen?
No, you told me to shut
You
up.
were shutting up.
Yeah. I'm not telling you
Listen,
how old
after
I'm
96 weeks, Russ finally listens.
and
Come on,
shuts
Ollie.
the hell up. I'm not telling you
how
old I'm
old?
going to be. It's going to be a big one. Anyway, that's all you need to know. So it's a big birthday Saturday for me. It actually falls on a Saturday.
That's lovely.
So I can rip Soho apart.
I love
Now,
it when
that's not why you're
birthdays
here.
fall on the
Why
weekend.
don't you let's pay the rent, and then you're going to introduce our fabuloso guest.
I'm sure you've heard before that good quality CBD needs to be really, really expensive. This is the new view of CBD, a product created by users for users, a product at an affordable price, available everywhere, at any time, at the simple click of a button. Just CBD and MCT oil. No additives, no preservatives, and no flavor enhancers. It's a simple subscription-based service, the cleanest possible CBD delivered to your door for the lowest possible price. Your product, your rights for the lowest possible price.
I've seen that well over 100 times. It never bores me. I love it.
I love
That's
it
great.
too. I love it too.
Yeah.
So Russ, birthday on Friday.
Yeah,
Birthday on Saturday.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Well, I don't know. I kind of dread birthdays, but anyway, let's not talk about it. Let's discuss your Fabaruni guest.
So, first of all, episode 96, four away from 100. Can't believe we've done this. Absolutely mental. Still
fabulous.
think that you've completely jeopardized your chances of ever finding another co-host, because why would I want to work with Ross after he's worked with that Ollie Mammon? So thank you so much for the support and everything over the last 96 weeks, Ross, and thank you for everything you've done for the community and giving me and my you could call it comrades in green arms a place to speak and a place to share our voice and a place to, you could call it, escape the echo chamber of the cannabis industry.
You are the Wolfie Smith of CBD.
Who said that?
I just said it. Couldn't you see my lips move?
Just why I thought maybe it came up on the thing. Who's Wolfie Smith?
Oh, what?
Let's not get into this.
Robert Lindsay did a fantastic sitcom many, many years ago called Citizen Smith, and he represented the People's Front of Tooting. And he walked around with a sort of a beret and Che Guevara.
Was this in the 70s?
Of course.
Yeah, fine. So like 30 years before I was even thought about.
You're quite depressing sometimes, Dave.
I
Grohl.
do apologize.
Yeah, shut up, Dave Grohl.
Anyway, so episode 96, we're actually going to have another look at cannabis and sport today. We actually have a very special guest, Dominic Day. Dominic Day actually joined us on episode 46. So basically exactly 1 year ago, he was with us, which is pretty cool. And I don't know if any of you saw a few weeks ago, actually played a rerun of his episode because I believed it was relatively pertinent at the time.
Yeah.
Before I move on with Dominic, I just want to say one thing because I think it's relatively good news. And I'm sure it's on the tip of everyone's tongue. Last Thursday, we actually got some fantastic news. It's actually quite interesting. There's been a lot of news developments over the courses of my shows over the last few weeks. So several weeks ago, doing the show, the Queen unfortunately died. Do you know what I mean? Which was kind of a news development in the middle of the show. Last week, whilst we were doing the show, it actually came out that President Biden had basically committed to start releasing people from jail for cannabis possession. So he proclaimed
nothing to do with the fact that it's coming up to the midterms and he's going to get his backside.
But
handed to
either
him on a
way,
platter.
like he proclaimed to like pardon offences of simple cannabis possession. Some of these people have been in jail for like 30 years now. About 6 months ago, a year ago, there's an app called House Party, and I was on this app, and there was a guy called Corbyn. And Cobain was in jail for 15 years or something ridiculous like that. He was one of the first people to. He actually got pardoned by Trump, or he got pardoned by Obama, on one of the ones like a few years ago.
Same guy.
But it was like, I can't remember who pardoned him, but someone pardoned him, and his release took a couple of years to happen. But anyway, when he was released, he was basically talking about how he spent like 15 years in jail, 16 years in jail, whatever it was, for conspiracy. So he didn't even actually do anything. They assumed, it was conspiracy to possess cannabis, or conspiracy to
must
distribute.
be conspiracy to distribute, I should
But
say.
then once again, he wasn't actually caught with anything. He was in jail for like indefinitely until he was pardoned. So I mean, some of these people who are going to be released are just, they're poor souls who have suffered and who have been under, under the rule of thumb without any sense to it, and who have been in jail and served their time for crimes they did not really actually commit. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of the actual crime. So I'm actually really happy about that. And I just wanted to say like a big thumbs up to President Biden for doing that, because, there's a lot of people who, fingers crossed, now can start to get on with the rest of their lives the way they should have been able to over the last 20 years. So just want to throw that out there as a little...
Well, I suppose he has to do one decent thing under his presidency. Now then, let's move on with but it is interesting. It's a very interesting development. We're going to see, of course, how the Republicans will counter that or not, as the case may be.
That's it. But listen, I'm saying like my introduction is something I can actually do with Dominic. So I just want to actually bring on the guest because he always adds great value. And
okay, Dave, let's bring him on.
Are you literally going to be calling me Dave all show?
That or Trigger. Don't know which yet.
Hello, Mr. Dominic Day. Thank you so much for gracing our screen again. I know how much Russ annoyed you last time, so I really appreciate you coming back, even though he
Hang on. Whoa, easy there, Cochise. Ease your horse back a tad. Dominic and I go way back.
I know you do.
Way back. We are best buds. Dominic's coming to my birthday party.
I wasn't invited to his birthday party. He is like, he's super cool.
Invited.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I would invite Dominic to my birthday party.
Dominic's coming to my birthday party. He's already said so.
It's always good to have a friend who's 3 times bigger than anyone else in the room. So, I mean, it's always nice to have a protector. You know what I mean? Like, I was always friends with the rugby lads at uni because they literally protected me from everyone who wanted to kill me. But I'm tall, but I'm weak. I'm like a twig. You snap me in the middle.
When I met you,
not like a trunk.
Once, when I met you, I was surprised just how. I'm 6 foot, and you were towering over me. You're like 6'2" or something, aren't you?
But you know what they say: the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So people like me fall hard.
You're like the Jimmy Cliff of North London. Anyway, go on.
So last time we had you on the show, Dominic, we spoke about your experiences of CBD. We spoke about the recovery period after sport, about how athletes are always looking for that extra 1% recovery, and that extra 1% makes such a difference. We talked about the strain athletes put themselves through whilst they're competing, and the strain athletes' bodies go through after they've stopped competing. I remember we had a conversation. We talked a little bit about CTE, which is chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is that concussion bracing. That concussion. It's a brain condition caused by excessive head trauma, repetitive concussions, and injury, and it's something which we touched upon briefly with you. I spoke about the following week after you with Dylan Hibbert, and we also spoke about how athletes are like the core of ailments, as in most athletes will suffer during their life as athletes. They will suffer after their life of being athletes, and they're just constantly in pain. There is this constant trauma that most athletes suffer with. They're all guaranteed to get arthritis. They are all guaranteed to get joint pain, and they are all guaranteed to get nerve and muscle pain. Just in what way it comes.
Can I jump in for a sec? Can I just jump in? It's
of course.
And it's very timely because last night it was the first of a series of things that we've developed, and we did a live event in a theatre. Myself and the great Luther Blissett, who is a footballing hero, and I won't take long because a lot of it is not germane to CBD, but of course footballers, once they finish playing as well, have huge mental health issues because they don't know what to do with themselves. It sounds silly, but they don't know. And apart from all the physical side of it, there's the mental side of it as well. So it all does link together in a sort of strange way that we try to do at Men's Radio Station.
It's also not really something that's really often discussed. People will go up to an athlete who they hold in such high prestige, who they've looked up to over years, and they want to know about them, but they don't really ever think about what this individual's really suffering. So, Dominic, tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, how many people have ever come up to you, put their hand around you, put their arm over your shoulder and been like, look, mate, you're incredible, such a great player. How's your health, by the way? Are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? I can't imagine that. I can imagine a buddy, can I get an autograph? Or I remember you playing in this game. I remember you hitting people. Or I remember you taking someone out, or whatever it is. But that discussion of, he might be suffering, let's see how he's doing. I can't imagine the average fan even thinking.
It doesn't cross their mind. I think, Ollie, such a great point. Doesn't cross their mind.
And
Dominic.
It's quite, sorry, go on, Dom. You were about to say
something.
No,
I was just going to say, first of all, you make it sound like being professional athletes is the worst job in the world, but like we're obviously, like, I think any professional athlete on the mental side, Ross, you touched on there, is I think you hit such a peak in terms of what you achieved so early on in your life that that all sort of gets taken away, and every athlete has that same experience. Like, you retire and it's all gone. And for 99% of athletes, like, it's totally gone. You got the 1% who might go into commentary or coaching and still be around that, but 99% of athletes just kind of leave that environment straight away. And I think that's a bit that a lot of people struggle with. Aside from, there's also a huge portion in rugby, but also, again, all other sports that financially you earn good money when you're a professional athlete. Like, in a lot of sports, rugby being one of them, you don't earn footballer money or NFL money, but you earn good money, but it's not enough to set you up for post sport. So it's like, that's another thing that athletes struggle with is getting those regular checks every month that pay the mortgage, allow you to live a really nice life, but then the preparation for post sport isn't there as well, and that probably leads into a lot of the mental health problems. But yeah, like the physical problems, that's certainly something that is day to day for me, something I've got to keep on top of. Like you mentioned, arthritis in my knees, got bulging discs in my back, and for some reason my shoulder started hitting a couple of days ago, which is a new one. So there's it's people do sort of tend to.
Are you on medicine for your arthritis?
I'm not. No, I'm not. I tend to go for obviously natural alternatives, but I when I retired, I stopped doing any exercise for like 6 months, and I was like, right, I'm not running into like big guys anymore. Like, I'm gonna be feeling a lot better. But what happened to me was like, I actually got like a lot worse, and it was mainly because I wasn't you need to have a constant you need to stay on top of your health, and you got to keep your body moving. So that's really what I try and do now, is just keep moving, sort of have like a base level of activity on what I need to do. So that, along with obviously use like products that help, like CBD products that help, which is the reason we got into the industry, right? So those products help, and just having sort of a baseline of activity.
How did you feel? Because I'm a huge fan, for example, of WWE, which was WWF, and when those guys stop, first of all, they lose their muscle tone, and they can lose it very, very quickly, and then they can put on a massive amount of weight, and then they get all sorts of aches and pains, to put it very mildly. How did you feel when you stopped doing anything for 6 months?
Yeah, like I felt terrible. Like my aches and pains got worse, which, like I said, I was hoping that would sort of be a fix, or a quick fix, in terms of being able to, like, towards the end of my career, I was really struggling with injuries, and I just remember waking up, sitting on the side of the bed and thinking, geez, what's going to hurt today? Like, it's going to be my knee, my back, like, what's it going to be? So I thought that was going to be something I wouldn't have to put up with anymore. But like I said, it's kind of, not having those big hits every day definitely helped. But and need that sort of. You need to keep active. You need to keep moving. The body wants to move.
What's interesting is you said that I made professional athletes sound like the worst job ever. I think you've just gone and maybe made my explanation sound 10 times worse. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm literally listening.
The thing is, Dominic, see if you agree with this or not. The highs are fantastic because it's what you were born to do. You know, this is your mission. This is your skill and this is your passion. So the highs are great and you're fulfilling your best life, but there are big downsides to this. You take, and especially in your sport, you take a hell of a physical pounding.
Yeah, definitely. But I think if you do ask any athlete, even if their body was in tatters at the end, like would they change anything? And I think 90% of them would say no, like they wouldn't. Now you touched on CTE earlier and sort of concussion, and that is definitely something that's rearing its head a lot more at the minute.
It's a massive topic. We only touched upon it briefly when we spoke. I actually rewatched the episode. We only touched upon it briefly, but it's one of those things which has kind of been emerging more over the last year. The NFL have just launched $1 million research project into how cannabis can potentially help brain trauma and stuff like that. It's one of those things which is like all the tests seem to be done on professional athletes. Like there seems to be a lot of rugby players and a lot of American football players who seem to be going through these tests in order to do that. And going back onto WWE, you remember the Chris Benoit story?
Of course I do.
Okay, so the Chris Benoit story, I don't know if you know, he used to do the guillotine. That was his move. He used to jump from the top. Top rope and head dive directly into person, hands behind his back. And they say that actually Chris Benoit's, you could call it the incident which happened with him and his family was a side effect of CTE. That's what it was. It was this concussion-based therapy. This concussion.
Not to put it. I'll try and put it as delicately as I can. He murdered his wife and young son, and then killed himself.
Yeah. So I was watching.
It was an absolute nightmare.
I was watching a documentary. I was watching a documentary like literally 3 weeks ago. It's called The Dark Side of the Ring, and what it does, it talks actually about Chris Benoit. It talks about CTE. It talks about like how these sorts of things have happened. There've been a couple of other in the last year or so, like American football players, quarterbacks and stuff who were like very high paid, who murdered, blown their heads off in the car parks of their in the car outside of their clubs before training. It's a really bad condition, but so many people from the outside, we don't really understand what's going on inside of these people we look up to and we revere so much, and it's even little things, like my girlfriend Hannah. All right, Hannah, she used to do a lot of dancing as a child. She used to do a lot of Irish dancing, ballet dancing, etc. And we'll speak about, some of the stories she's heard from 40, 50-year-old ballet dancers, people who were like the most prestigious ballet dancers ever who literally can't walk at the age of 45. And these are, you would never imagine a ballet dancer to be in that same category, but their positioning, their flexibility, everything when they stop just stops, and their whatever their body used to be able to do and whatever their body went through, it starts to shut down and deteriorate. And it's pretty crazy that everyone who we crave, everyone who we crave this entertainment from, everyone who we look at and we support and we cheer for, they're like putting themselves through the walls for us. I think it's quite important as people, we start to kind of appreciate that. We appreciate exactly what these athletes are doing, not just winning or losing, but the actual, self-sacrifice. I'm sorry to go so emotional, but I mean, it's the way I see it. And the more and more people I speak to, the more I feel bad. I don't think it's the worst job ever, but I do think it's up there with some of the worst jobs ever. And I was watching, not the same, but I was watching Rocky the other day with my brother. So we were watching Creed. And my brother looked at me, he goes, "How much?" I go, "What?" He goes, "How much to get in the ring with Ivan Drago's son?" And I was like, "I don't think you could pay me." He would kill me. And on one punch, I would die. As in, there is no way in hell. 4
seconds.
No, but I wouldn't get knocked out. I would die, Russ. I would die. All right. And it's just like, no part of me would ever do that. But I've got so much respect for every athlete who's ever put themselves into a competitive environment and who's come out the other side as a victor or just come out the other side full stop. I mean, I've got nothing but respect for you guys because, you're warriors, absolute warriors. Just thought I'd throw that out there before we move on with the show.
Appreciate that.
No
You're right. Like, look, I think the thrill. Well, first of all, like, you spend 10, 15 years being around your mates every day, and like that's amazing. And then you're playing in front of packed stadiums, which is also amazing. But yeah, there's a downside. There's downside to a lot of things, right? But yeah, there's definitely it's been looked at a lot more closely now in terms of again, touching on CTE, like I think World Rugby is getting there's a court case coming up against them, similar to what happened in the NFL. So I think there's a lot of things that will start to rear their ugly heads in the next couple of years.
I got to jump in. Something strange has just happened, but it's fascinating because it's right on the money with Ollie and you. I've switched from smoking cigars, well, still occasionally, to a pipe because it's much cheaper for reasons we were chatting about before the show. So I went online to try and get a sort of CBD tobacco. I thought that would be trying to do the thing. And I've just had a notice. No supplies. They've just cancelled the order. Isn't that interesting? So there's an area for you, Ollie Mammon.
Interesting. Send me what you've send me what you were looking at,
and
we'll see if we can knock you together something.
I will, because
I can go get some pipe tobacco and nano encapsulate it with something. I can create you something.
Isn't it interesting how this show has opened my eyes to other things? And I thought, yes, I can combine two things, CBD and all of Ollie's good stuff and the magic that he works, and just relaxing. There we are.
Amazing. So it actually sounds like a lot of fun. It's a product which I haven't actually worked with before, and you know what? Let's see what I can do. Dominic, question. So how have you been the last year? What's new? Has anything new happened that we might not know about? How was the novel food navigation? How's the brand going? I see that you've got into some incredible like high street retailers recently. So congratulations on that. Honestly, from strength to strength. I actually remember you guys at the first expo. I remember the first expo you guys did. I remember your stall. I remember you guys sitting there. I remember you guys like pushing your concept, pushing your brand. And to see the fact that you guys are in Sainsbury's now and, you're going from strength to strength and growing and growing. I just want to say congratulations. Really, really, really proud of you. How is everything with the brand? How was everything with novel food? Do you hate the industry yet? Has it got you yet? Usually it takes about 5 years before you're like, oh, should have done something else.
It's in Sainsbury's, for goodness sake. That is huge.
It's a hard industry, Russ.
Yes,
but that is huge.
But it's been a really interesting year, to say the least. But we obviously not start with novel foods, I guess, which was a pain in the ass, to say the least. But we managed to navigate that and got through to the next stage. There's probably about 20 more stages to go. Who knows anymore?
27 or 28.
But we got through to the next stage, and I think since then we've definitely, like we were hoping for, and I've definitely seen a lot of movement since that came to light in terms of retailers replying to us, wanting to list us. In the next sort of couple of months, we've got the biggest listing that coming to light that we've had to date. So
good man, good man.
Super excited for that. So it's something that for those people who don't know, Ollie was chasing me yesterday, and a couple of days ago he was like, "Oh, are you coming on? Come on, let's go on, let's chat." And I was just so busy. I left it unread, by the way. I wasn't ignoring you because I wanted to get back to you. But,
no, it's completely. And listen, at the end of the day, I know you're busy, but I also know you're not like you've never let me down before, and that's why I kind of knew you weren't going to let me down. But there was a moment I was like, right, if he's got a lot on his plate and he doesn't let me down, but the situation lets us both down, I just wanted to mainly get an answer. But you're here, you're wonderful. You look great. Okay, you don't look stressed at all. And no, but it's an honor to have you here. And I know how busy you've got. I can see from the industry. I can see from your posts. I can see from your uptick that you guys are busy. I'm so happy for you. I'm like so happy. I'm so proud of you, because when we brought you on a year ago, there was one thing which you were talking about, which is, basically products designed for people by people who have experienced pain. Like there was this idea that the product works for you, the product works for other people around you. So you've created the product to work for other people around you even more. So you've come from a place of efficacy. You've come from a place of this needs to work. And to see you go from strength to strength, there aren't many companies I would want to see go from strength to strength the way I've seen you guys do it. If anyone's going to succeed, it needs to be people who really do care. And you've always proven yourself to care. There's always in your narrative this idea that, the product helped me and I wanted to help other people. That always seems to emerge. It always seems to re-emerge as a point. So I'm just like, I'm really proud of you guys going from strength to strength. Do you feel that the less competition, because more and more brands have dropped off the marketplace because of novel food, this, the growth trajectory which the market was on previously has kind of fallen off a little bit. And if you weren't in the market before, you're not going to be in the market in the future. Do you think that's potentially giving you guys a bit more space to be seen? So as opposed to hundreds of new brands with new backboneless concepts coming up and just kind of taking up the space in front of us, do you feel that that's maybe created an ability for people to see you guys clearer as a company amongst those out there?
Yeah,
as a good company amongst those out there.
Yeah, it's obviously timing wise, we unknowingly timed it like pretty well, getting in when we did. And
you were early, man. You were early. You started your brand in end of 2018 is when you started. 2019, you were like fully in market. Do you know what I mean? Like I remember hearing about you guys doing it. I was like, all right, they're the first athletes to do it. You know what I mean? Other athletes have done it, but you were the first athletes to do it. And you're the only ones who have really stuck around. You know what I mean? There are other athletes out there coming back from different angles, but I mean, from like a true, bottom up perspective, no one's done what you guys have done. You started out doing just like you started out like us. You know what I mean? Like just a simple brand, and you've grown and grown and grown into, like you said, the biggest deal you guys have ever got. Can you tell us what this is, or you can't tell us? I don't want you getting in trouble.
Did you say you're with Tesco's, not Sainsbury's? Did I hear that right?
Sorry,
Tesco's. Tesco's is better than Sainsbury's anyway. There's more of them. My bad.
Also, Sainsbury's we're going into next.
That's amazing.
I'm only joking. This, we've got a big deal coming up, which is super exciting, and we're actually we're raising money soon, which because we really want to kind of double down on the efforts. Like it seems to be working what we're doing, so we kind of want to accelerate that. That's another thing to sort of on our plate at the minute is we're going into a fundraise, which is exciting as well. But yeah, like in terms of like people, like we're talking about time in the market. So yeah, we've gotten at a good time, and yeah, I'm sure there would be companies coming in now if they could with like a load of cash trying to eat up the market. So that definitely gives us a bit of leeway in terms of being able to have, I don't know how much longer, but a year or two longer to sort of establish ourselves, which is great. But look, super exciting, and there's heaps more to come in the next sort of 6 months. Like I said, since sort of novel foods and coming out of COVID, I guess the next thing to navigate is going to be this financial crisis. But if we can get through and tick that one off, I think we would have done pretty well.
You're right. The hurdles haven't stopped coming if you think about it, right?
How many SKUs have you got in Tesco's though?
So we've got 3 SKUs in Tesco's, and then we're also in Boots as well. We've got a range in Boots.
Wow.
Yeah, and
So I'm just fascinated because I'm so sorry. I'm just fascinated because of the nuts and bolts and the mechanics of all of this. Because it's lovely to have a conversation with somebody who's just like, yeah, I've taken this. Now look what I'm doing. So instead of somebody just ranting and raving and foaming at the mouth, look what this guy's done. So How did you do that? Do you have a team? Did you go in and leverage your reputation and
Yeah, are you
personality?
working with distributors, or is it all
Yeah.
like through personal growth? Is it being at expos? Have you really been at the forefront of pushing your brand forward, or have you been working with a team? Yeah, it's actually a very good question, Russ.
Yeah, well, so within the business, so obviously myself and my co-founder George. So I lead on the retail side, and George leads on sort of the events and partnerships, which, like, we supply not a CBD range, but our vitamin range to like Saracens, Leicester Tigers, Saracens Mavericks, who's a netball team. We've got a couple more sort of professional sports partnerships coming up, but I lead on the retail side alongside it's a distributor. So the way we tend to structure it, like, there's no doubt that our story is unique, and these retailers, they actually told us they get like 40 brands a week, like sending products in, trying to get a bit of cut through. But a lot of them are have been and are just kind of labels on bottles. So like people who've started a brand and put it on a bottle and are trying to get listings. I guess the difference for us is we've a reason to be there. We've got a story. We're passionate about the brand and the industry. So like the way we deal with it at the minute now, I'm a rugby player turned businessman, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it. And we like, I'm learning as quickly as I can in terms of the nuts and bolts of the retail side, but we do have a distributor who helps us on that side and helps with the account management. But like, my role is really just to go in, tell the story, show them how passionate we are and how much we want to make it work. And to be honest, like, we've converted pretty much every listing that we've wanted to go after, which is great. We're just trying to timeline them out because we don't. And this is why we're raising money for the next one, because
that's how a business should be run. That's what you should be doing. You are the founder, the voice, and the reason for this being. George is fantastic people person and very, very, very organized. I've spoken to him on several occasions at different expos. Like, real businesses run when people do their jobs. So the whole idea is you have a clock. There are 15, 20 wheels in the clock, 15, 20 of these cogs, and the more, like, each cog does its own job, and it's part of each job.
And it just takes one to fail,
and then everything
the whole
goes.
mechanism falls to.
So therefore, the fact that you guys have been doing your role, and the fact that you say you just go in and tell the story, that is the most important thing. Is where has this brand come from? Why has this brand come to be? What is the actual reason? What's the what's the reason behind all of this? You're that reason. And then when you go in there, what more do you need? Like, it's kind of like, I think you won me over first time you told your story. Like, when you talk about the 1%, 2% pain, that, like, it's that whole idea of all you need is that 2-3% difference in pain. If you can get that 2-3% difference, it makes the world of difference. Talking about someone who actually experiences pain differently from everyone else, how can you not be won over by that? Like someone who talks about, I've designed this range of vitamins, which I actually want to talk to you a bit more about, this diversification, this beyond CBD, which you guys are doing. And when you talk about the vitamins and stuff you created, I assume you've created them based on the vitamins that you take. So therefore, it very much is Dominic Day, someone who has literally been in and out the scrum and come out with a list of ailments. All right. Like, this is what I need, in order to make my life better. This is what this is built around, my habitual consumption. It makes it all more valid. It makes it all more real, as opposed to having someone who's never experienced what you've experienced trying to speak from a place of experience, which a lot of people do. You have companies out there who focus on menopause, and the companies are fully owned by men who have never experienced menopause in their lives. You know what I mean? And never will. And then you have companies out there who are about, like, beauty and fashion, but in reality they don't know anything about fashion or beauty care, and they end up failing because they're not coming from the right place. The fact that you are this focused brand with a focused objective and a focused target, it's kind of incredible.
It's so interesting on your website, Dom. It goes, we created 4-5 after both suffering from a string of injuries. So you've got my attention straight away. If I'm Mr. Tommy Tesco, you got my attention. And discovering the power of CBD in our recovery. Boom. So you've set up, the background, and you've said the efficacy of it. As sportsmen, we were immediately shown the direction of prescription drugs that had numerous adverse side effects. Yep, on our bodies and our minds. Tell me about it. We set out to find an effective, natural remedy to our pain and loss of sleep, associated with injury, and was surprised by the lack of sports-trusted CBD products in the UK. It's so powerful. It's
and so simple, but straight to the
It's
point.
simple, but it's straightforward. It says, this is who I am. That's what I've endured. I'm talking from a personal place of understanding. Let's resolve it. Great.
Have you
Great.
have you done? So I've got two questions. So first of all, let's talk about your vitamins a little bit. So let's talk about diversifying in this space. One of the biggest problems for most CBD brands in this industry is the fact that we're not allowed to innovate anymore. We can't bring new products, can't bring new SKUs to our range. So I've actually seen a few of the vitamin ranges you've brought through. Do you want to talk a little bit about them? You know, how they came to be, why you chose to, create a subsidiary line to what you guys were already doing?
Yeah. So you actually mentioned earlier, like we looked at the products that we were taking like throughout our career, and we didn't try and reinvent the wheel. We sort of got a core range of supplements. We are releasing a few more products in the next sort of 6 months, but we looked at the core range of products we would take, like your vitamin D, C's, omegas, biotics, multivits, and it's actually quite shocking when you look at what's in a lot of products on the supermarket shelf. Anyway, like they are designed to have marketing ability. So the products within a multivit on a shelf in a pharmacy or a grocer, it screams to the customer, "Oh, this is awesome! It's got this much of this much of that." But the quality of those ingredients is actually really, really poor. And it doesn't work.
See, I'm such
terrible,
a sucker.
right?
I'm such a sucker for that. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Active ingredients are the most important thing, and a lot of
Yeah.
people assume that all active ingredients are made equal. But there's, we live in a world where unfortunately manufacturers and brands don't actually have to explain fully what's being used. So, for example, like there are, you can get a CBD oil which is 2% or a CBD oil which is 99.999%, and theoretically, if you weren't under regulation in the UK, you could just use the word CBD oil and let people, decide for themselves. The same thing happens with every plant.
Yeah, which is
every
why
plant,
people,
every herb, every vitamin, everything has got its, its actives within, and some are made terribly, some are made well.
That's right, and that's why when I say, people say, "What are you doing?" and I go, "I use this, that, and the other," and they go, "Oh," I said, "No, but I don't go into the shelf and buy it. I'm not being rude to any of the supermarkets. I wouldn't do that because I'm not buying ibuprofen or paracetamol because that's all the same. It's the same stuff, just with different packaging. I will only speak to Ollie, tell him the problem, have it tailor-made like I'm in Savile Row, and I get what I need. That's why I always push and I try to push for no other reason, because I know it works.
Yeah,
That's why. I have no financial say in this and no skin in the game. It makes no difference to me. If Ollie has a million customers or 2 customers, it's irrelevant. I just want to help the other people so they're not, they're getting the best help that they can.
I think Dominic's doing. I think Dominic's doing exactly the same. So how do you
that feeling?
Yeah. So how long did it take you to realize this? Because a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people don't realize that actives are not made equal. Like they don't realize that actives are not made equal, and not all vitamins are dosed in the same way. So I mean, how long did it take you to realize, and how hard was it to find a manufacturer who was, I want to say, willing to do the right thing as opposed to the most cost-effective thing?
Yeah, the cost-effective side is definitely something that we struggle with, because, first of all, how long did it take? So we started looking into this probably in late 2019, 2020. Now, we don't design these ourselves, obviously, because we don't have that expertise, but we work with a couple of doctors and formulators who we kind of let them know what we want, and they look into ingredients and other products and how can we better that. And I think one thing that really shocked me was in a lot of products. I can't remember the scientific name for it, so you can look for it on a label. You might know it, Ollie, but they use chalk as a bulking agent.
Yeah, like a filler. Chalk, bicarbonate of soda. They use
You are
they'll use
kidding
these,
me.
dude. Filling. So they talk about like a Barocca. A Barocca weighs about 5.4 grams. Within a Barocca, you've got about 4%, 5% of actives, and that's still 10 times more than you need of those actives. So, you know, like it's crazy how much of every product is not actually conducive to the end. It has no benefit to the end consumer.
Yeah,
I tell you, when I used to do theatre, billion years, and everyone said they've got to go, oh, try Barocca, try nothing, absolutely nothing. I've never bothered with it since in like 20 years. Never
Just
touched
fillers in everything. It's such a massive issue.
Barocca's actually a good example. So we released a hydration tablet only last week, all based around having like no artificial fillers, no artificial sweeteners, flavoring, whatever it might be. And when you go down that route, you can actually see it in when I was in university, you used to take Barocca when you're hungover, right? And you'd always get the stuff in the bottom, and I just remember in uni we'd be like, oh, that's a good stuff, you've got to get that down you. But in fact, that is actually the non-dissolvable sort of like bulking agents and fillers that are in the tablet that just can't dissolve in the water and sink to the bottom. So when you use like natural ingredients like we've done in ours, it just completely dissolves in the water. Actually tastes better as well. So I've no idea why they use sort of artificial sweeteners and stuff. But the chalk one was a big one for me, because like it is actually, because I was chatting to our formulators and doctors, and like I was like, what do you mean by chalk? Like, what is it? And it's the same chalk that, like, you know, kids might use on a whiteboard, or you get in the White Cliffs of Dover. It's like the same stuff.
It's White Cliffs of Dover chalk. It's like the most unactive mineral on the face of the
dear
earth.
God, really?
So anyway, that's kind of where we like we just look to sort of.
I can imagine, Dom. I can imagine you sitting there thinking, "Is this what I used to put on my hands before grabbing a rugby ball?" That's basically it. Yeah, before you go play, before you lift weights or anything, you cover your hands in chalk. Just take a couple of these capsules, crush them up, and you're good to go.
Yeah. So so that's kind of where when we thought, right, there's an opportunity here, and you know, moving on to finding manufacturers and pricing and stuff, like it's not cheap to make. So I think it's another reason that we're raising money in a minute, because we need to have the marketing spend to educate the customers, because otherwise, you know, there's people buying a £4 product versus like a £10 product, which would be ours, but it works. And essentially, you might buy a £4 product, but it's £4 wasted because it's not going to do anything. Or you could get a £10 product and it actually has benefits to the body. So yeah, the cost of doing that from a manufacturing perspective is more expensive.
I got to say, can I congratulate you on something? Well, loads of things, but I've been listening and watching, but going through your website, it's so beautifully written. And as a copywriter myself, bravo. It looks great. It's really clean. It's simply said. Doesn't try to blind you with science, which I loathe. There's no BS. And I got to tell you, you converted me. I'm going to be coming to you for my vitamin C.
Oh, he's very trustworthy. Like I would say to anyone out there, if you want to.
Also, I know where he lives if he's not.
45 CBD, they're a great brand out there. They make incredible products. You know, you've got heart and soul behind everything they do. So, I mean, if you want to support a brand, if you're an athlete, you want to be, you know, taken care of by one of your own, I believe that this is the right brand for you. Going back onto cannabis and sport, so being a former athlete and a current cannabis entrepreneur and, you know, what's it called, health space entrepreneur, I assume this topic I'm about to talk about is like basically you constantly have your ear to the ground. So I don't know if you know, but let's say Major League Baseball in the last few days, they've just introduced a big sponsorship CBD deal. Charlotte's Web is actually going to be releasing a range of products in conjunction with Major League Baseball. So there will be the Major League Baseball range developed by Charlotte's Web. And it's going to carry the MLB logo. The products are going to contain no THC. There's a new type of testing which is called NSF testing. So it's NSF 306. It's certified for sport. And there's I assume, based on, because this is quite big, there's also a couple other companies out there who are dealing, like a NCAA, et cetera, who are talking about potential NSF tested products and also potential collaboration deals. Have you heard anything like this happening in the UK? Have you heard of, any companies in the UK going for this NSF certification, which is like a with something which athletes can rely on and trust when it comes to cannabis-based products? And have you heard about anything in the UK which might be similar to this MLB unity with the Charlotte's Web?
Yeah, no, not in the UK. To be honest, we use an American company to test some of our SKUs. Actually, the ones that we recommend professional athletes use is called BSCG. So it's a similar sort of testing body. But we actually, when they announced it, Major League Baseball, we actually had a couple of teams reach out to us about sponsoring them, but we don't sell in America, so it's kind of no use to us at the time.
You speaking to rugby teams or you're speaking to baseball teams?
Oh, sorry, we had baseball teams reach out to us.
Amazing.
About sponsoring them. I think they've seen that we sponsored obviously Saracens and Tigers, a couple of professional sports teams here, but with the vitamins, and assumed you might be open to it. But yeah, no, like also so World Anti-Doping, I think everyone was hopeful that they would take cannabis off the banned substance list.
But they didn't.
Yeah, but they didn't. So I think if they had done that, then there would have been a lot more scope for teams to sort of trust CBD products a bit more, because they're still a bit skeptical about it. So I think we're well positioned in the UK when it does happen to sort of get involved and supply our products. But for the time being, it's probably a no-go. We do have a lot, like we have hundreds of like professional athletes who use our products, and we guide them towards sort of the best options, being the banned substance control tested products.
So many athletes get the wrong advice as well. I mean, it's quite sad. I was speaking to a buddy of mine recently. He's nothing special, but I mean, he plays like second division basketball in the UK, and even they get tested, just because they get tested. And he was talking to me about, a specific product his mate was, making for him, and he's adamant it's THC free and this and that. And he basically, I saw the product, I was like, this is no way in hell this is THC free. It was a full-on broad spectrum product. But I mean, like a proper broad spectrum product. Like it looked like a paste. It looked like an RSO. And I was like, look, I'm really, really, really sorry, but this is not that. Like I would bet I'll bet your yearly salary that this has got trace elements of THC. He goes, yeah, but my mate wouldn't lie. I was like, no, your mate wouldn't lie, but he just doesn't know. I said, he's not lying to you. He just doesn't know. It'll be like, you giving the car keys to your nephew and being like, drive me to the shops, and not asking whether or not they know how to drive a car. But if you give them the keys and say, drive me to the shops, the nephew's going to be like, fuck yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of where we are. Like, we're in this situation where, like, it's like if an athlete approached me and asked me for help and I didn't know anything, I'll still give them the help. Why? Because it's amazing to be asked by an athlete. It's amazing to be asked by someone who, like, you want to get asked for help. Of course you're going to do it. And I've seen it a lot out there where there's a lot of, my products safe for athletes, my products this, my products that, but in reality, they're not. And they're paraphrasing advice given to them by people who also are not in the know. And I think it's very important that there are companies like you out there specifically for athletes. Like, I think that if you're an athlete and you consume CBD, you shouldn't go to a company which isn't run by an athlete or a former athlete. I think it's dangerous to. And, the thing is with Charlotte's Web, I love them, but Charlotte's Web's not they are a broad spectrum product. They've always been a broad spectrum product. That's what they sell themselves on, is the fact that they have 0.45% THC in their product. You know, it's a high.
You know what you're saying, Ol? It makes so much sense. It's like,
So I'm not really sure how that's happening. But then on the other side,
Well,
if they can
just
isolate based,
I'm not sure if I'd have to double check, but I know cannabis is allowed in the NFL.
out of season.
Is it out of season?
Yeah. So basically, I've got that note written down here as well.
Yeah, it's allowed in all sports out of season. Like
out of season, you're allowed to consume, and when you're not in play, they've said that for NFL players and for NBA players, when you're not in play, if you're not playing, okay, and you're off like an off season or you're on a ban or recovery, you're allowed to consume cannabis.
Yeah.
If you're doing it legally.
Because I'm not sure if that's changed. I'm not sure if cannabis is allowed at all times. We'll double check. Let's
yeah.
Now, while I don't know what's going on with my voice.
Interesting.
You carry on.
Interesting. If that is the case, then that shows incredible what's it called, growth in our industry. I still, based on some research I've done in the last week, just to kind of top up my knowledge for this conversation, I didn't find anything out about that. I know that there was this WDA about how they were talking about, decriminalizing and taking cannabis off of the list and taking it off the controlled substances list because it's not performance enhancing. It doesn't actually provide athletes any benefit. It only helps with recovery. So theoretically, athletes should be able to use it. But I didn't see anything about them being allowed to consume. I know that there was a lot of clubs saying we won't test for it. So if our players want to consume cannabis, we won't test for it, but that's different from it being carte blanche legal. But once again, if I'm wrong, I would love to know that, because if there is an ability for players to have levels of THC, what they have done is they've increased the blood capacity of athletes. So athletes in America, as opposed to having 0.35 nanograms in per blood or whatever it is, they've increased it to 155. So they've given you around 5 times the amount of cannabinoids which you can have in your bloodstream, which has got it's a step in the right direction. I'm just curious as to, like say in the UK, if you had a medical cannabis prescription, you're still not allowed to consume cannabis as an athlete. So I was just wondering if you'd heard if maybe there's a little bit more leniency, or if anyone's potentially humoring the idea of legalizing amongst, or not legalizing, ignoring. I think ignoring is a better word.
Yeah, no, nothing that I've seen. I'm afraid. I think there's quite a bit of work to do on that side. I'd say that even in the next couple of years, it's going to take someone like WADA to budge on their stance, I think. But my opinion is that it would be a step in the right direction.
And you've worked, so like I said, you work with Saracens, you sponsor them with your vitamin range, right?
Yeah. They've
got no interest in taking on your CBD?
No, just simply because, I think it'd be a similar issue to the legalize it, like prescription cannabis in the UK, right, where that was legalized, but doctors wouldn't prescribe or didn't know how to prescribe it. Like, it would be a similar situation in sport, where it's so new, the studies are still new and happening as we speak, that nutritionists and doctors, they just want to see the science behind it and understand it a bit more. So there's a massive education piece to be done.
Would you become a medical cannabis patient? Now you're no longer in thingy. Like I've actually never asked you this before, and I it just popped into my mind. As someone who suffers from pain, as someone who is such an advocate of CBD and the benefits of this, minor cannabinoid and what it can do, have you ever thought about potentially applying for a medical cannabis prescription in the UK for your pain, for your suffering?
Good point.
Once again, if it's a no, just say no. I would never turn into a stoner like you. That's completely fair. But I was just curious, because I assume, like, athletes, the athletes who consume cannabis, I assume it's it's not something. I'm just trying to think. Like if you were an athlete and you consume cannabis, the chances are you consumed it before you were a pro athlete as well, and it's kind of already in that system of yours. And as someone who's spent their whole life living by this book, I can't imagine them just dropping off of it. Do you know what I mean? I can imagine if you're still like an athlete in here, you might still say no. But I was just curious, as someone who's involved in this space, is it something you would do?
Yeah, listen, I'd be open to it 100%. I have to talk to my PR company about that first, though.
And while you're thinking about that, while I've got the big cheese on the show, I'm going to ask this to the Grand Fromage. Talk me through your probiotic range. It's something that interests me a lot. And rather than go through your website, I'd rather talk to the boss.
Yeah. So that's actually one which... so George used probiotics a lot in his career. I didn't. And I actually only started using them properly about 3 months ago. And the strain of biotic that we use is called LGG, and it's like the most studied strain of biotic in the world. So it's got a heap of like studies behind it, and there's a lot of science to come out around the link between the gut and the brain, and since I've been taking it, like I definitely noticed a difference in my gut. Like I didn't even really think I had an issue, but I definitely feel better within my gut. But I think from a general mood perspective, it's helped as well.
I got to tell you something. This will make you laugh. While the show was going on, I was trying to cancel an order so I could swap over to you. That's how much you've convinced me. I was trying to cancel one order I just placed with another company and go over to yours. But the moment the show's finished, I'm placing some orders with you.
I think
boom, the power of men's radio station, ladies and gentlemen.
I think that's very smart, Dominic. I think it's very, very, very smart to incorporate things like that. Probiotics are incredible, and you're right. Like the link between the gut and the brain, it's on another level. I mean, it's just, and it's this whole new world of research which has kind of come out in the last few years, and it's only gonna strengthen and get stronger. That's the main reason why kombucha became so strong, became so popular. It's that, probiotic delivery system. So it's like, it's a very smart way to go about it. Do you have any other ideas of, other areas which you think you're going to venture into? As in, you looking to do things with mushrooms? You looking to do things with other forms of nootropics or adaptogens? As in, is your vitamin range going to grow over the next few over the coming periods?
Yeah. So we've got a bit of a pipeline of new products to come out. We're just finalizing a couple of sort of ingredients at the minute. They're going to be more like complexes. So like we're looking at like a collagen ingredient mixed in with a few other things, because that's something that we use a lot in our careers, is collagen. And then sort of combining that with other sort of nice ingredients, and yeah, we are thinking about, or I say we are thinking about, we are speccing out a mushroom product that the sort of tie in, I guess, with sort of the mental side of things again. So yeah, we definitely want to venture a bit more into the sort of hydration space as well, because that's something that is, from a performance perspective, is like hugely important, and not just like performance as well, just from like when you're working at a desk, like being hydrated is like helps concentration so much. So and we've had really good feedback on the one we released last week, so we already have a couple of those we're looking at. But then, like you mentioned earlier as well, on the CBD side, sort of we've been held back a little bit from an MPD perspective, but we're trying to get ahead of it now and look at what we can do for when we just want everything in place for when like regulation finally fully clears up, and we want to sort of be ahead of the curve there with a few really nice SKUs to get out there.
I think it's very smart though, because the pain route, something you understand, the recovery route, something you understand, the mental health route is something you guys understand from experience, body maintenance is something you guys understand from experience. So you kind of targeting all of these different, it's almost like you have the that it's like a scatter diagram. Do you know what I mean? With you guys in the middle, you know, the fact that the four or five founders, as you call them, in the middle. And if you kind of come off it, the life experiences you guys have experienced, and you were to try and find, you know, treatments for them, I kind of like that bubble you've created, because it's all purpose driven. Do you know what I mean? It's like for us, by us. Do you know? It's that mentality.
Well, it's not just it does, you know. It's like the old Victor Kiam thing. I liked it so much, I bought the company. Well, you liked it so much, you
built it.
The company. We're out of time.
Great show,
Dominic Day. I don't know where the hour's gone. It's zoomed by. We got a new customer here.
Oh, fantastic.
So frankly, it hasn't been a waste of your time. You've got to look at it on the plus side.
New anyway.
For goodness sake. Right. It's been terrific. Thank you again for joining us. Let's not leave it another year. Good luck with everything you do. Congratulations on getting into the supermarkets. If you've never done it, it's impossible. Bravo. That's really great.
Strength to
Ollie
strength, my
Mammal,
brother.
you are a legend in your own lunchtime. You take care. We will be back next Thursday at the same time. Until then, as I always say, try